A very, very, very good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us today. I know we have been talking a lot about the COVID 19 situation, the lockdown, the entire thing. They are relaxing it very slowly. But with all this, there is a lot more responsibility on us to do this entire social distancing. So there is a lot of stress, there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of anxiety, and there is a lot of hope as well. I mean, let's not forget that. So amidst all this, how are we taking care of the most important people in our lives, our children? Children respond to stress in different ways, such as being more clingy, or probably they're more anxious. Some are withdrawn. Some we see signs of anger or agitation, even bedwetting in some cases. Sometimes we notice, sometimes we don't. So, how do we be watchful and mindful about all this? And how to respond to your child's reactions in a supportive way, listen to their concerns and help them through this, especially in a time where we are going through myriad feelings ourselves. So if you, like me, are thinking about all this, not all the time, but sometimes I do doubt, whether I'm doing a good job as a parent, etc. But don't worry, today we are in some fabulous company, virtual, but fabulous company. I'm joined by Dr. Shelja Sen, clinical psychologist, co-founder of Children's First and TED speaker. Of course, everyone knows her, and she's a favorite in our community when it comes to everything which is children related. Glad to have you here with us, Doctor. And we have Sonali Khan, Managing Director, Sesame Workshop India, and Nari Shakti Purashkar awardee by the Government of India for her phenomenal work in gender rights, for all the impact you have created in the social space. Huge respects, and we are so happy that you've joined us today. And now is our very, very special guest. I'm sure Sonali and Dr. Shelja are also super excited to welcome our very special guest for today. Googly, our 6-year-old friend from the Gully Gully Sim Sim at Sesame Workshop India. Super, super glad to have you all with us. And especially Googly, I mean, you are one of the cutest guests we have had hosted here at GurgaonMoms. And all those who have joined us, mothers and fathers, please do leave your questions for the panel in the comments section. We will definitely take it up during the course of the conversation. Thanks for joining in. And so let us start with asking Dr. Shelja. Shelja, how has the lockdown been treating you? But actually for you, I think the question has to be, how have you been treating the lockdown?
I think, thank you, Neela. It's such a pleasure to be here with Gurgaon Moms, with Shonali, and most of all with Googly. I'm looking forward to having fun interactions because I'm really missing being with kids. So it's going to be fun to talk to Googly. How have I been treating lockdown, and how's the lockdown been treating? It's a very interesting question. I think I've been trying to balance, like many mothers, working mothers. I've been trying to balance a lot of things. I've been trying to balance work, running a home, being a mother, taking care of myself. So lots of things. And of course, trying to connect with people. I think also what has been amazing about this lockdown has been that I have been able to connect to people far and wide through mediums like we're doing right now. So that has been exciting. Of course, there has been a lot of worry. There's been a lot of confusion. There's been uncertainty, worry about a lot of people, people who come from marginalized communities, older people. However, on the whole, it's been mixed.
Thanks for that candid response, Dr. Shelja. I mean, when you say that, then we feel that we're not alone. It is what we feel. You feel the same way. Probably it's how we process and respond. And that is what we will try understanding through this conversation today. Shonali, how has it been for you?
Yeah, so thanks, Neela. It's really, I'm happy to keep such fabulous company. So thank you, Gurgaon Moms, from all of us at Sesame Workshop India, to host us on your platform. Again, as I was telling someone that, this lockdown has meant I have never stayed in one place for so long. I travel a lot, work takes me everywhere. But this is the first time in many, many years that I have stayed put at home or even one place. So that's like really different for me. My children are fairly older, so in sense of managing home has been much easier. But I do confess, I mean, as the lockdown progressed, I did feel huge anxiety. And, as the managing director of Sesame Workshop India, there is a responsibility of an organization that I carry. All our work in the community, which is so important, reaching children in very marginalized situations. Our work, for example, in Dharavi has completely shut down, and we don't even know when that's going to start. We are worried about kids getting back into Anganwadis, how they will, when all of that will start. And meanwhile, will digital and other such, tools offer us opportunities to reach these kids, and by when? So yes, there are a lot of concerns there. But on the nice side, as Shelja reminded me, I've actually spoken to some of my school friends after 30 years, just seeing them and saying, oh my God, you look like that. Oh my God, my hair's all gray, and, just seeing. So it was really, really amazing to touch. And, we are four siblings, and we've never had a conference FaceTime call ever. We like do calls, etc. And the first time four of us were on this screen together and saying, my God, we've never done this. So
Right.
yes, some really new things have happened. But yeah,
The positive side is it has opened up a lot of possibilities
Yes.
and things that we never imagined we
Yeah.
could do and
Yeah.
meet people we never thought. So that's the side from our adults. Let's hear from Googly. Googly, how has it been for you?
Hello, everybody. Well, the lockdown, I don't know. I haven't gone out to play for 5 million days now. My mama always says that you shouldn't go out because there's coronavirus. पर मैंने तो देखा नहीं. Shelja ji, have you seen coronavirus? Huh? Is it a monster like me? Is it cute? Is it big? Or is it small? उसका कलर क्या है? मेरे घर में घुस सकता है क्या?
Hi, Googly. Nowhere is it as cute as you at all. Let me just tell you that. Not cute. It's so tiny that we can't see it from our eyes. It's so tiny. So, we need special instruments to see it. You are a science buff. You like science. So, a lot of special instruments are required to see it. It's like the way I can explain it to you is, like children or everybody catches flu. Like, so flu is like the wind. Imagine flu like the wind. Now, coronavirus is like the storm. So it's very strong. It's a little stronger than the wind. So that's why when the storm happens, we have to go home and keep ourselves home so we can protect ourselves. We can take care of ourselves and our people who we love. When the storm passes away, then we can go out.
Okay.
Yeah, is that okay for you? Yeah, that's why you can't go out and play, and you have to find new ways to play. You will have to find new ways to play. I work with children because children also are troubled by feelings like sadness, stress, anger, fear. I talk to them, and I have found, because earlier I used to work with them face to face, now I work with them online. I have found so many new ways to play with them, interact. Like, I have my own puppets like this Nelly here.
Oh,
Yeah, this is Nelly. So I find different ways to connect
hi,
with
Nelly.
children. Hi, Googly. How are you? I hope you're I'm a great fan of yours.
Okay. Well, we'll be friends soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
So
so
that's
cool. So Googly was fortunate. Googly could ask Dr. Shelja directly about coronavirus. Now we have our kids asking us, and most of the times parents are unsure how much we can tell them and how much we should not. And you did it just so beautifully, Dr. Shelja. But give us the guidelines. What should we be mindful about when we are sharing with our child? Because each child is different, And again, based on the age group, how much can we share?
Hmm. Children actually, it's amazing that we think children don't know much. Children pick up a lot. They also have amazing knowledge and skills, and they can help us. I think the best thing about being a child psychologist is I get to meet children, I get to learn from them because they have amazing know-how that adults don't have. So this 10-year-old told me that the stress of corona is like polluted air. I really like the what she says. It's like polluted air and it's affecting everybody. But sometimes adults forget that's affecting children also. And I totally agreed with her because children are like sponges. They are picking up the stress. And, we forget about it. Adults are sometimes so caught up with their own stress of work, finances, future, health. They forget that children are also picking it up. So what I would like to tell parents is that first of all, they have to be very calm and reassured. They have to be very calm themselves before they talk to children. Because if you are stressed out and your anxiety level is very high, it's the children are going to pick it up, right? So you have to be calm, you have to be reassuring, you have to be as honest as possible, depending on the age of the child. Be very matter of fact. First of all, ask them what they know rather than assuming they don't know anything because they're talking to their friends, they go for Zoom classes. There are lots of other ways they're older ones are getting information from the net. Ask them what they know. And then depending on the age, you talk to them. Like for little children, what I do is I help them understand. I make two circles, one big circle and a smaller circle, concentric circle. I tell them, we make a small circle and we say, okay, what are the things we can control? The storm is happening, storm of corona. What are the things we can control? So within that circle, we write things like stay at home, wash our hands. If you ever go out, somebody has to go out, you wear a mask, you maintain social distance, all those things, what we can keep, what we can do through the day. But things we cannot control. When the storm is happening, storm is happening. We can't go out and stop the storm. So that we have to let go. We have to just focus on things we can control.
Well, that's beautiful.
And if there's another thing I can tell, sorry, I'm saying this because I have this opportunity to talk to Googly. Googly, I have this thing that another child actually, whatever I've learned through children rather than the degrees and the books I've read. One child taught me this, what she called ABC. ABC is this. A is alert. Alert means that stress is coming in, or anxiety is coming in. You can feel it in the tension in your body or tension in your chest, or your stomach is kind of feeling fluttery, or you can't breathe. And lots of thoughts in your head are coming. What's going to happen? Something bad is going to happen. A is alert, that stress is coming in. B is breathe out. You have to imagine you're a dragon. Imagine you have a palm in front of you and there's a feather there, and breathe out like, okay? Breathe out. Breathe out.
Okay.
And do 2-3 breaths. And C is for change the channel. Alert, breathe out, change the channel, go and do something fun. So if you try that out, you go and tell Chumki to tell all your friends to try ABC. It works very well. Works like
okay. Okay. A is for alert.
Yes.
B is to breathe out.
Yes, like a dragon.
C is for like a dragon. So probably a louder breathe out.
Yes. Yeah, almost like that. Yes.
And C is for change the channel.
Yes, and do
got that.
fun thing.
So
all right, and I'll definitely share it with Chumki.
Yes, please do.
Oh, I wish someone had explained it to me like that. That was great.
That is awesome. So Googly has picked up his ABC for today. I hope the parents are also noting down the ABC so they can talk about it to their kids. Sonali Khan, you have always been in the space of, taking a message to the kids in a very bright, beautiful way. So what is your thoughts on this? Please weigh in on this.
Uh, Neela, and I take sort of a page from what Shelja said, that kids are listening, kids are absorbing. They're absorbing the good messages. They're also absorbing the stress. So when we communicate to kids, it has to be in their language. It has to be a language that they understand. Simple, and I love the ABC, Shelja. That was lovely. I think Sesame for the last 50 years and 14, 15 in India. We are 50-year-old, though Googly is still 6. But this is what we really believe, that we have to talk to children in their language. It's really important. So when this whole coronavirus started, affecting lives of both parents and children, we came out with a lot of messaging around hand wash prevention, and very quickly actually started talking about socio-emotional well-being. How do we really message to children? How do parents recognize what children are feeling? One thing, when we are talking, and Sesame works with very little children, our focus is age group of 3 to 8. This group many a times doesn't have the language to express themselves. And as Shelja said, it starts manifesting in different kinds of behaviors. So therefore, how do you really communicate to children? So our wonderful world of Muppets has become our tool of really, and ways in which I think the way the Muppets communicate with children, whether today Googly's here, we have Chumky, our Elmo is really a big favorite as well. So all of them become the way in which we communicate with children and parents. So our early messaging around COVID all began with ways in which the Muppets really communicated the message. And I think that's been a very strong way, because we never forget that kids are responding and how do we communicate with them. Saying that, I think one important piece I'd bring in, that we have very systematically seen that without engaging parents, and therefore the reason for this conversation, the well-being of kids will not be secured, and to recognize what parents are going through. And I think the biggest message that, Neela, I'd like to give today is one of kindness and empathy, because this is what is key to how we can tackle what's in front of us. It's not about kindness to everybody. Kindness also starts with myself, to recognize that I need to be kind to myself and I need to be kind to everyone. Both teach empathy towards kids and be empathetic myself. And this is the core of every message that today at Sesame we are trying to put out.
Googly, how do you feel, and uh, what has been your experiences during this lockdown? What have you been up to, and have you, please
Well,
tell.
I have been missing my friends, and thanks, Shonali, for that lovely explanation. I wish someone had explained it like that to me. Well, but sometimes I miss my friends so much. My best friend Chunky, well, last night I had a bad dream that I'm playing cricket with my best friend Chunky, and a big black corona cloud ate up our cricket ball. Oh, I was so scared. Wouldn't you be scared?
Yeah, that is scary. That is very scary. Dr. Shelja, please tell us. So, you know, kids like you, in fact, even in your, when you were answering, you mentioned how they pick up small cues. And when they pick up fear, how do we help them through it? How do we handhold them through this? Googly just beautifully explained. Uh, that's a nightmare. That sounds more like a nightmare, isn't it? Yeah. Please, Dr. Shelja, help us.
So sometimes, like Googly said, children might get nightmares. Uh, there's a lot being talked around in the house, what they exposed to in the net sometimes. And sometimes they put it together, and the fear, I think this is a universal phenomena. People are talking about this across the ages. They're finding it difficult to sleep, bad dreams, which affects their moods, which affects their functioning, a feeling of sense of exhaustion, feeling tired. So that's a universal thing. However, if I have not slept well, or if I have had a bad dream, or I'm tired, I can go and tell somebody. I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling stressed out. However, for children, they do not have the language to be able to express themselves that I am stressed out, because they're not sometimes aware of it, right? So sometimes they're not even aware of it, and for them to express it is their behavior. So how do they express it? A child who's had a bad dream might express it through a tantrum, or becoming clingy, or not being able to sleep, or being scared to sleep, saying I don't want to sleep and fighting it, or might not want to eat, or different ways the child might, depending on the age of the child might express it in the behavior. Now, many times because all of us are going through the stress, we might react with anger. Why are you being so difficult? Why are you creating a time? Don't you know there's so much of work to do? Mama and Papa are so busy. We have work. We have to take care of the house. We have to take care of you. And we might react with anger. So the first thing is we have to understand that behavior is just an expression of the child's emotions. When a child comes to me, the behavior is just, I don't look at the behavior. I want to see what's really happening, right? What's happening in the emotional world of the child. So what we have to do is we have to, as adults, it's our responsibility to keep our eyes and our hearts open, because this requires a huge amount of empathy, requires a huge amount of time also. Because if I am, now we have to understand the reality of the situation. Our roles, our identities, everything has been collapsed to our homes, to small spaces where both parents are working, they're running the home, they're taking care of the children. Now, however, the reality for children also is that for them also it's just their home. They don't, their schools been taken away, their parks have been taken away, their friends' places have been taken away, everything's been taken away. So we expect them to understand, but they are kids. They sometimes they're not able to respond so we have to give them space, time, to be able, for me to be able to put aside everything and be with the child and try to understand what the child is going through. Ask them rather than assuming. Ask them. And sometimes, depending on the age of the child, you use drawings, you use stories, you use different ways, stories, or artwork, different ways to help understand what's happening in the child. And if you're able to create the space when you're able to listen to what the child is able to bring to you, you'll be able to hear what they are experiencing right now. And empathy is very, very important here. And empathy for yourself, like Shonali was saying, because we have to take care of ourselves. If I am not able to take care of myself, like those instructions we get when we take flights, first, in case of lack of oxygen, first you take mask for yourself before giving to your child. So we take care of ourselves and then we take care of our child. That requires a lot of mindfulness. It requires a lot of empathy. It requires a lot of another thing I love to say is, I don't know, Googly, if you've seen the movie Avatar. Have you seen the movie Avatar?
I don't remember watching it.
Yeah. So there are people who, when they greet each other, they say,
Uh-huh.
I see you. I
Okay.
think it's a beautiful way to greet each other, where I honor who you are. So in that,
Okay.
yeah. So in
Okay.
that,
Okay. But Dr. Shelja, in
yeah,
this lockdown, I am alone at my home. I
yes,
cannot play with my friends, Chumki, Elmo, Grover, and we cannot have all the fun times that we had in the gully.
yes,
Now I play alone and then I cannot see them. Why can't I see them? I miss them a lot. Don't
yes.
you miss your friends?
I miss my
And then
friends a
mama
lot.
says, I cannot meet them.
Yes, I know.
I don't
It's
know
it's
what to do.
Yeah, Googly, it's a very difficult time. I know how you're feeling. You're feeling alone. You're feeling. Sometimes you feel. What do you feel most of the time? When you
I,
when you miss your friend Chumki, how do you feel then?
I want to meet her. I want
You
to meet her so that we can play a game, football, cricket, just run around just run
Yes.
around in the playground. I miss her.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but then I get really bored at home at times.
Is there any other way you can you can meet Chamki, but not physically meet, but like the way we are meeting right now, can you meet Chamki like that?
Hmm. Well, that's a thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe you could try that.
Yeah, I can call her up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's another. You can play lots of games together. There are a lot of fun games
Of
you can
course.
play together.
Yeah, like on Takshri, maybe.
Yes,
Because we both love to sing.
yes, yeah, you can do that. And when the storm goes away, then you can play with each other outside in the park.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Googly looks satisfied with your answer, Dr.
Yeah,
Shelja.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
So can I, sorry, Jana, just finish what I was saying. So you know how this thing, I see you, in a very frenzied, though we are in lockdown, we are not able to see each other. Children, we are, at least adults are going online and seeing each other. For children, that opportunity or possibility to be seen, and we all like to be seen. So we have to find time when we look at our children, give them 100% our attention, our eye contact, and say, I'm there for you right now. What I call active recognition of, lighting up or saying, you matter to me right now. And because that's what is important right now. So if parents are able to give that to children, they're able to put, and you have to understand right now they have to drop the rope, the tug of war of this has to be done, that has to be done. It does not matter if the house is messy, work has not been done. You have to find that time for your child.
beautifully said, Dr. Shelja. And I just enjoyed the way you interacted with Googly. There was a lot to learn from the way you interacted, what you said, that is there, but just the way you went about interacting with Googly. And, and also the point that you mentioned about how we have to drop things that we're doing. And this is extremely important to create that space to identify what our kids are going through and try supporting them. And like Googly said, this whole thing of social distancing, uh, that gets confused with social isolation, I think. And a lot of us, it's physical distancing that we're talking about whenever we mention social distancing, right? And that doesn't mean that we have to socially isolate ourselves. And that's Dr. Shelja has given wonderful tips to Googly on how he can connect with his friends. But Sonali, tell us, why is the feeling of community and being, staying connected with all of them uh, extremely important for children as well, because we usually overlook that part. So why is it extremely important that parents should take that effort to help the children in that space?
Sure. So, Neela, I think the most important thing to remember that children learn with each other. And when you're talking about early childhood, the interaction that they have in terms of sharing, even the fact that they can't push, they can't, just grab things from each other, learning self-control, making friends, because little children, we all know early, are just like sort of little atoms running around on their own. But when they enter preschool, that's the time they really learn how to engage with each other, or if they have a sibling at home. So this is an age where they're actually making those relationships. And now you've taken these same bunch of kids, put them at home. They may have a sibling, they may not have a sibling. If they have a pet, that's even fabulous, because I have 2 dogs, and I can tell you the enormous relief that I get when I pet them. Let me tell you, they are just their own little bag of therapy. So if you hug them and you pet them, they give you so, like, suddenly, and it's a scientifically proven fact that, and my kids also tell me, Mom, it's, you just feel better. So I think, you're talking about these kids now that, have been are kept away from their friends. They're kept away from, things that really matter to them. So in this kind of a situation, how do you tackle kids? How do you really make them understand the situation that they are in? And this whole piece of social distancing can't be explained to kids. They are used to just being with each other in a very different way, and it's all physical, whether the games they play, the way they share food, for them the concept of dirt doesn't exist. Little dirty hands, muddy hands, all of that work for them. So in this kind of a situation, go wash your hand 20 times, doesn't work for a little one, you know. वो छुआ हाथ धो लो, अच्छा पता नहीं हम लोग ने, you know, and parents get very anxious as well, and rightfully so, because you know there's a kind of perception around corona. So how do you then work with these kids is really important. And Googly and I have been talking about this a lot. Like, should we, you know, do things like grow plants, like, you know, experiment with new creative ideas. One is, of course, you know, we all worry about extra time on screen time. My parents are busy, put the child in front of a screen. And to Shelja's point, you know, what are those things that are really creative that we can do together? Whether growing some plants in a pot, you know, work with children in different creative exercise. I love the thought that, you know, there's no point being tough on ourselves. Yes, we need to excel in everything we do. But at this point of time, it's okay. It's okay not to be perfect. It's okay not to, you know, get everything right. If we get, you know, we just need to get through this storm together. I think that concept of what you're trying to say is the concept of togetherness. Because even while we are into this, and it's human nature to protect our own, to, you know, to feel that we need to be mindful of ourselves. But the question that Neela, you've asked is never forget the community. Because ultimately something like corona has to be tackled at a community level. It can't be handled by one family, one child. Yes, we have to do the, you know, whatever is required, the hygiene factor, social distancing, all of that, but we have to do it together. And I completely agree with Shelja on this. The children understand the concept of togetherness. If we try and get them to understand that we are all in it together, Chunky is in it together. Now, if I turn to Googly and I ask him, if we can all do this together and we can understand this together, और दोस्तों के साथ हम मिलके इसके बारे में बात कर सकते हैं कि हम सबको मास्क पहनना चाहिए, हम सबको हाथ धोना चाहिए, हमको सब, हम बहुत चीजें कर सकते हैं. वी कैन शेयर. आज मैंने क्या किया, मैंने आज ड्राइंग किया. और एक चीज मैं जरूर बोलना चाहूंगी यहाँ पे कि कुछ नहीं भी करना ठीक है. It's not about keeping children busy. You know, it's like the whole thing around parents is now is how do we keep children busy? How do we make sure they've done their lessons? How do we make sure we reduce? Everything is about being busy. It's okay not being busy. I think we should just take a deep breath there. I mean, I grew up in a time where there was no digital. We saw the entire digital revolution. I mean, you had hours where you didn't have anything to do. TV used to come on at 6 p.m. in the evening. So you just hung around. You did very little. You know, pottered around, played with things, experimented with things. Parents didn't have all the time in the world for you. My mother was a homemaker. She was always at home, but not necessarily played and read me books either. So I think, you know, we as parents have created a lot of expectations that we want to fulfill. We have created an image of a parent ourselves that we want to live up to all the time. You know, read to our children, sing with our children, dance with our children, you know, all of that. It's okay. Children can explore things on their own. I still remember the time I wanted to make paper mache and I messed it up enormously. And my mother woke up after her afternoon nap and said, "What have you done?" Because I created a huge gloop and she had to clean it out, you know. So children can do that. So Googly, I mean, you just get back into your childhood memories. You can have done all of those things and it's perfectly fine, you know. So I would love to say, Neela, at Sesame Workshop India, while we are, you know, out there trying to give messages to keep, you know, provide those tools, learning tools, ideas to keep kids busy, ideas to help manage stress, but we are also saying it's okay. It's okay. To really take that deep breath and say, you know, we don't at this point have to prove we are super moms and super dads, but at the same time, be really conscious and caring. Caring means, and I love what Shelja said, I see you, I hear you, I understand what you're going through. But at the same time, be able to tell your child what you are going through. And I think that's really, really important. Googly? आपको समझ रहा है कि मम्मी डैडी भी बड़ी मुश्किल में हैं. They are also not understanding the situation very well.
हाँ, मुझे कुछ समझ आ रहा है. हाँ, कि मैं चमकी से फोन पे बात कर सकता हूँ या फिर वीडियो चैट कर सकता हूँ और फनी जोक्स कर सकता हूँ. और उसके अलावा मैं प्लांट्स में पानी डाल सकता हूँ, नए प्लांट्स ग्रो कर सकता हूँ, और हाँ, नए नए आइडियाज से अपने साइंस प्रोजेक्ट्स बना सकता हूँ.
Wow, great, such lovely ideas. But you brought out a beautiful point, Shonali, that it is not important. I mean, it is not necessary, because that is something that I think a lot of moms take on ourselves. We feel that we have to be there with the kids, engaging the kids all the time. But it is just that you, how you beautifully said, you just provide them the tools, or, probably they will, they will find out a way to keep themselves busy and creative as well, right? I mean, that kinds of brings out the creativity in them, isn't it? So, Googly, what are your plans now? Now you know that Dr. Shelja has given you such lovely tips, and Sonali has made us parents understand that it's extremely important that Googly's kids stay in touch with their friends. So, are you going to stay in touch with your friends, and are you going to stay active and have fun?
Of course, I'm gonna stay in touch with my friends, and I have so many now ideas with me. So, thank you, Shelja ma'am and Sonali ma'am, so that now I can stay with my friends. But since I'm home alone with my parents, can Mama also play with me? I mean, she does, but then she often says that she has to go for some work in the house. And then I go to my papa, and then papa says, okay, fine, we'll play for some time. But then again, he has some work to do. Now, I get a little confused because then I go and play my drums. Dum, 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 a dum, 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 dum. But, but then they get angry, and I do not understand that. Why do they get angry?
Can I say something here to you, Googly?
Hmm?
Yeah. What you said was really, really so important. And what happens is when grown-ups, when they, as children become adults, as they start growing older, they become lost in this world of grown-upness. They think they become grown up, they have to do serious things, they think they have no time for play. But actually, that's something you have to teach them. All of us have to come together to teach all the adults in this world that the most important thing at this time is being playful.
Mhm.
I use a word, I call it playfulness quotient, PQ. That PQ is very, very important. And PQ means being silly, having fun. You could put on a Bollywood music and dance together. You could,
Huh?
make a tent with bed sheets and have a picnic under there. Or you could just laugh for no reason. You could do so many fun things. But sometimes grown-ups need to, they have lost that skill of being playful. And the best thing about being playful is it's the biggest de-stressor. It throws, like, the stress we were talking about. You be silly, you be funny, and the stress just runs away from there. It's like a seesaw. Once your
Hmm.
playfulness goes up, stress comes down. Stress goes up, playfulness comes down. So what we have to do is we have to get to the adults. I hope lots and lots of adults and grown-ups are listening to you, Googly, and finding time to be playful every day.
And Googly,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I have a 12-year-old son, and
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy playing with him. But it's often, the games that I like and the games that he likes, they're so different. So now, after listening to Dr. Shelja and Shonali, I feel that I have to definitely find out that one game where we can compromise and kind of meet somewhere and start playing. So it's very important, right? So, yes, that was a
Mm-hmm.
great
Mm-hmm.
question, Googly. And I think all parents now, we will find that time. Honestly, Shelja, I enjoy playing games. But amidst all the so many things that's happening, this either it looks like another task, number one. Number two, I think we're socially conditioned, or as adults, when we grow up, fun is always seen as a trivial thing. It is not seen as a very important thing to keep your sanity. And I think that's where we go wrong, right?
Yeah.
Please give us some tips on how we can convince ourselves to not look at this as another chore, but to look at it as a real fun thing, like how we were when we were kids. Please help us.
Yeah, so I'm a biggest playfulness campaigner because I really, really believe in it. That sometimes you look at children. You suppose you have to give a child some bitter medicine. You give the child a bitter medicine for a little while. The child will be like this. Then he will go running up and down and be like almost shake off that the negative energy or the negative residue of that ordeal. You see the same thing with dogs. You take dog for a bath, they're after that they're like all over the place, as if all the negativity of that stressful event they want to get rid of.
Get rid of.
And so much of research has been done on it. If anybody is interested, there's an amazing guy called Stuart Brown who's done so much of research on how playfulness is important for us. And playfulness is something that is the biggest de-stressor. It helps us to stay alive, it helps us to stay young, it helps us to get rid of all that negative energy around us, all the stress we are talking about. If one thing parents remember is, when you're being playful or being silly, you're not just doing it for your child, you're doing it for yourself, and you're doing it for the whole family. Just put it aside and just be silly.
So, Shelja, I'd love to add something, to what you have just said about playfulness and what that it means. Because, one thing we must learn, and at Sesame, this is a real play you can learn.
Yes.
In fact, if putting a child at a desk with a sheet of paper and some pencil and, expecting them to learn, is actually more difficult. And if you create a playful approach, whether, we know this all the time, you're learning shapes, you're learning colors, you're learning things like, spatial understanding, height, distance, etc., then it really becomes, play can be a very important component of even learning. So that's something that we have understood at Sesame all the way. We use experiential learning, playfulness as a way of actually teaching. And I think this is, we did a really, just to put a point across, we did a project in some of the urban slums of Delhi on play as a way of teaching. And you're so right, parents, and this is low resource communities which have seen intergenerational poverty as well. And this is true of all socioeconomic categories. It's not that only, certain categories are more playful or less. They see play as a very trivial activity, non-serious. They don't want to engage with it. And there's also self-consciousness. If I behave silly, or if you tell me to make a face, I won't do it. And I'd love to sort of, before we end the program, let's do something silly with Googly. Let's make funny faces with Googly. I think we should all do this together to increase the playful quotient. And
yeah, that sounds fun.
Before we end, we have to bring back energy. We all must do something silly on this show before we end, whether it's remembering our nursery rhyme or whatever, make faces or whatever we do, we must definitely do that. And that's a promise, Googly. But what I'm trying to say is that, we have forgotten that and we need to bring it back. But what we realized in that program, and I do want to tell this, that when we walked with the parent, and in this, some really mothers and grandmothers as well, who had never done this, let me tell you, when we did it step by step, they dropped their inhibitions. In fact, they were playing more than the children. They were remembering games from their childhood. They were becoming competitive. In fact, we had to calm them down as well. So I think there is hope. If really we bring it back into the room, I think we will all be so surprised. And there are a lot of parents on this program. If we just, again, let ourselves go and we remember all the fun, our children will see us differently for sure. They'll consider us more human and really appreciate it and better connect with us as well. And I must make one confession. My music sense was stuck in the 80s, and I used to not listen to many of the newer artists, etc. And I have kids who are, my daughter turned 18 and my son is older. To better relate with my kids, I started listening to modern, current music. and all the fun stuff, and started listening to even rap, which I for initially would just be so averse to. And let me tell you, it sort of loosened me up. I think made me less stuffy, but also that made me understood what is going on with the younger person's mind, because creativity, art, music, what's going on today, if we start connecting with that, we will make such amazing linkages with our children. Because we have this attitude, this music is, all these lyrics are obnoxious, or what are kids listening to all the time, what are they seeing, these Vine videos. I said, okay, let me join them. I can't fight them, let me join them. And that changed my attitude a lot, and made me and this whole piece around empathy, it made me understand what's going on. This generation is going through so much. I mean, I have never seen COVID like situation ever before. I mean, we are expecting kids to really already deal with it. So I think we need to relate to kids in their language, in their cultural context, have fun in the way they want to have, even if it is listening to rap, if it's older kids, or if it is whatever the younger ones want to do, make those silly faces. So Googly, promise we will make those silly faces really soon when Neela gives us permission.
This is so exciting.
Can I just add one thing? Sorry, that my children love my silliness, and they love it, or they just roll their eyes. But I have a deal with them that I will not embarrass them in front of their friends. I can be silly, but
they're not on this webinar, Shelja.
No, here I can be silly.
You can get away with it.
This is so exciting. Neela ji, do you think after hearing this, all the parents, Mama and Papa, they will play with their children and be silly?
Yes, definitely, Googly. Thank you. Thank you for, making us think on those lines, and lovely tips from Sonali and Shelja. We parents are now, we're going to have loads of fun by playing silly and playing games, playing a lot, being playful with our kids. I think that way we are going to add a lot of fun to our life as well, and which means if I'm fun and if I'm happy, then I'm going to create that space for my child as well. So thank you, Googly, for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, Shelja, quickly, so you told us about the ABC for the kids. Now, tell us something for the moms as well, for the moms and dads who are watching as well. Give us some techniques, please. The ABC was super helpful. I'm going to teach my son for sure. But tell something for the parents.
But parents can also use it, Sometimes we think,
I know.
add that silly element. I do that all the time. Little bit before going on this webinar, I did the ABC. Okay, little stress is there. Breathe out, change the channel, do something fun, do something silly. So let parents do ABC also. So that can be very, very helpful for them. Having said that, a few things I would add to, what I would like to say to parents is that, at this time, playfulness, sometimes we think that so much is happening across the world that we think that we have to be, we focus a lot on productivity, we focus a lot of meeting our goals, doing things that really are very important, all the serious grown-up things. But I think at these times, we have to remember that fun and joy is non-negotiable. It's very, very important for us to keep, especially for parents I would say all parents or non-parents, all human beings on this earth, we have to find time to have fun, to be playful. So if they are able to do that and do it without guilt, don't feel guilty that, oh, look at so many people who are living in poverty right now, people who are dying right now. Of course, that's happening. And we have to find different ways to contribute there. And that's a separate thing, but you have to take care of yourself, have fun, enjoy yourself. The other thing that I would say is for children, their choices have been taken away from them. So simple exercise, like when you are with children, do something like a 10-finger exercise, like 5 things that the child wants to do. In the morning, you tell the child, what are the 5 things that you would like to do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 things Mama wants you to do. So it could be simple as brush your teeth, have your breakfast, something very simple. These kind of things give a child choice. Or it could be in terms of, you know, small things that you do, that which room would you like to play in today, you know, keep wearing it. Keep certain toys out, put all the toys in the cupboard every day, take out some toys. So creating a sense of novelty there. So those kind of things are extremely important, that you give the child choices and you give the child space to be. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Shonali, would you like to add to it?
I think Shelja's summed it up really beautifully as to, you know, what are the tips for parents. I think it's actually I think throughout the session, Neela, we've spoken about it, that be kind to yourself. You know, it's really, really important. I think I can't more emphasize in the times we live in. I think we've always, it's not just COVID. I think even pre-COVID, at Sesame, which is our mission to help kids grow smarter, stronger, and kinder. If we want them to be kind, we have to give them a kind world. Otherwise, they will not learn, right? So it's important to be kind to yourself in a very tough time. That I think is the most important message. I will add to what Shelja said. The other thing I would really say to all parents is that we are in it together. And don't feel isolated, because I think many parents are feeling that sense, and everybody is struggling. We know the struggles are many, but I think we have to sort of, I really say, that sense of community. And I know many people are reconnecting with friends through digital, family, in many, many different ways. But I think the sense of togetherness and speaking about what you're going through is equally important at this point of time. And like, you know, when we say we want to know what's going on with the child, I think the very same goes with us as parents as well. To really be kind to ourselves, but also deeply understand that we're all in it together. We are not alone. I think that sense of aloneness should not be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I
I
add one
think when,
more thing?
yes.
Sorry, Neela. Can I just add one more thing, which is very important? At Children First, we talk about how each child is wired and inspired differently. I would like to add one more thing to it, that each family is also wired differently, and each parent is doing the best they can with the resources and skills they have. So they some families might be you know, multi-generational or joint family living together with different kind of challenges. There could be mothers who are single parents, or they could be a family who has a child with disability, or families whose income has been impacted. There's a lot of financial stress they are going through. So there are different, you know, challenges each family has. And it's very important, this sense of what we're talking about. You know, there's a lot of survival of the fittest that is talked about, but I think the most important thing is it's the survival of the kindest that is going to help us through this pandemic. We have to come together. And I'm seeing families where they have small children, and they have involved children in a lot of projects where they are saving money through WhatsApp, through a lot of these crowdsourcing, to raise funds for people from the marginalized community. And children are finding that so meaningful. And
Right.
can you imagine the lesson they are learning in this, that you
Right.
are not in this you know, alone. We are all in this together. Like, you know, the thing that's talked about, that we are definitely not in the same boat, but we're in the same storm. So we
Right.
have to help each other in this, being in this together. So that is very important.
That's a beautiful, beautiful point that you brought out. It's, you know, one is, yes, the fun part, and the second one is also giving them that sense of accomplishment when they are doing something. So adding that kind of angle to the whole thing as well. So beautifully said. So Googly, what do you think about the whole thing now?
Well, it was great, But now let's be silly.
But one thing I have to mention is there are a lot of questions waiting from different parents. All right.
Oh,
We are
oh.
definitely going to take all the questions because I'm sure Googly will want to do Googly is going to help us be fun for some time, and then probably Googly may want to go out and play, and then we'll take the questions from parents. Is that okay? Does that sound good?
Well, that sounds fun to me because that will happen right now. Let's start with Shelja ma'am.
Yes.
Shelja ma'am, could you please copy me the way I do? Will you do it?
Yes.
Okay then. Be ready. First, Shelja ma'am. Shelja ma'am,
Yeah.
bring your hands in front of your face. Now shake your head. Woo, woo, woo. Head, head, head. Head, head, head. Say along. Sing
Head,
along.
head, 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 head.
Now do this. Ooh, ha. Ooh, ha.
Ooh, ah, ooh, ah. Loving it.
Sonali ma'am, now it's your turn. Now you teach us something silly.
I should be prepared for that.
was it.
Okay,
that was
Googly,
a
now
good
you
lady.
have to follow me, and I suggest Neela and Shelja. Let's all be in it together because it's together activity will be super fun. Okay.
Could we do a woohoo before we begin?
Okay, absolutely. Woo! Okay, so let's do something silly together. Let's sing a nursery rhyme together because I think we are all adults. So let's choose the nursery rhyme, Googly. Which one?
Well, I have one.
Okay.
Will you sing along with me?
Sure.
Okay, it goes. I care for you, you care for me.
I care for you, you care for me.
'Cause we are a happy family.
Because we are a happy family.
You will hold me, I'll hold you too.
You hold
me,
me, I'll hold you too.
'Cause you love me and I love you.
'Cause
You
you
love
love
me
me and I
I
love
love
you.
Yay!
Yeah!
Thank you.
Awesome, Googly.
Googly. Thank you. That
was
was
awesome.
lovely.
Thank you, Googly.
No, you're not going anywhere. We have to still do some silliness.
Okay. So let's make one silly face. So what
All
is
right.
your favorite silly face? Tell me, I'll copy you.
Can I give a silly face?
Sure,
Can I-
even better.
Yeah. Can you do this?
Oh,
Try this.
how do you do that?
Oh my God.
That's a challenge. See?
Oh my God.
It's not happening.
This is
You were a dancer, Shelja. Sure.
Yeah.
so you have to turn it and then put your fingers like this and like this.
Sorry, I'm so inflexible.
No, Shelja, you're just too flexible.
See, I work with children, so you learn these silly
my
things.
nose at you. So I can do this. Googly.
Me too.
Nose.
Yeah. I can.
Fun.
Now, Neela ma'am, time for you to be silly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's me.
No, you tell us. How would you want to be silly?
How would I want you to be silly? Okay. So this is my favorite, and I do it to my
Mhm,
kid, but he gets
mhm.
very irritated when I do that to him. So I find it
Don't worry,
fun.
we won't.
I do this.
Eh?
He hates that.
You become a reindeer.
Do I look like that? Okay, that's nice. Thank you, Googly.
Can you
Thank
become
you
a
for
reindeer
giving us.
again? Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for my for answering my questions. Thank you, Shelja ma'am. Thank you, Neela ma'am. Thank you, Sonali ma'am.
We had so much fun because of you, Googly. Thank you for being here with us.
Okay, I need to go now. I
All
have to
right, you go have fun.
play.
Loads of fun.
Hi, Googly.
Okay, and you guys have fun too.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. That was good fun. So now we'll take questions from parents, fathers, and mothers. I've posted a lot of questions for both of you. So there's a question from Shalini Sachdeva. I've observed a lot of defiance in my 9-year-old ever since we've been home. Making inclusive rules, schedules are not working well either. Would love to understand what strategies can we use here, Shelja?
Right. So, okay. So, like I was saying earlier, that sometimes what we are seeing is just the behavior of the child, and what you're seeing is the defiance. We don't know what the child is going through. How old is the child, if I can just check?
9 years.
9 years old, right? So 9-year-old child is going through, maybe he has to be at home, no friends, not no going to school, no going to the park. Children enjoy going to spaces like going to the mall, going to restaurants, doing the fun things. So that's been taken away, and maybe parents have been busy. I don't know what the family is going through, and defines a typical reaction to circumstances when the child is not happy or is not feeling okay, right? And what I would suggest is that, first of all, for parents is to spend time with the child, to make sure when you're sitting with the child that you are feeling calm, that you're feeling okay, so that you're not passing your stress to the child. It could be just checking with the child. There's a phrase I use in communication which works across all ages, which is you, me, we. You, me, we is, first you check with the child, you connect with the child. A 9-year-old, it could be you tell stories, you do some artwork, you listen to music, you do something together, and in which you kind of check up with them. How's it? How are your friends doing? When is the last time you spoke to your friend? What do you like playing with right now? How are you sleeping? Those kind of questions, and checking with them how the world is. It could be even in terms of mom sharing, there are times I feel cranky. I feel cranky because I have to do this, I have to do that. Do you feel cranky sometime? So the child gets a way to understand that everybody feels this. So child is able to share. When the child is able to share that, what, I feel upset because you don't, I don't know, I'm just giving an example, you don't spend time with me, or you don't play with me, then you kind of listen to the child, you empathize with the child, and then
Shelja,
you
if I
then
may
you
just
put your point of across, and then you reach a negotiation together. Yeah, sorry.
So I'm so sorry. I wanted to, because this is during most of my conversations with other parents.
Yeah.
The common complaint that we all share is when we talk to kids, especially when they're upset, they never. It's always a very brief answer. It's yes, no, very brief answers from where you cannot catch anything.
Yes.
So how do we actually get them to open up and share things with us, especially at 9, 10? They already start, the preteens starts quite early these years, I feel. So yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes they might not, because like the same thing, when sometimes when parents will get a child to me, they think that the child will just come and start talking to me. It's not like that. The I'm still a stranger for the child, right? So I might use what the child is interested in. I'm not going to talk about anything. I'm going to use play, I'm going to use art, I'm going to use different mediums to connect to the child. And only when the child feels safe enough in my space can I start. So maybe initially, first time you sit down with the child is not going to happen. Maybe you'll have to really, your relationship with your child is like an emotional bank account. In these times, sometimes the deposits are less and the withdrawals are more. So you don't do this, stop doing that, stop, you can't do this. You know, so many no's and stops and you can't do this is happening, that the child, you're not making enough deposits. So first I have to focus on building my deposits with the child. So it's fun time, playful times, a lot of ICU times, a lot of recognitions, a lot of, which is very different from praise. Recognition is every time the child does something that was very thoughtful, that was very generous, that was very kind. Only then the child is going to be feel safe enough to let me in.
Yeah.
So
Neela,
this takes time.
Neela, I just want to add 2 points to what Shelja said, and it's come from years of being a useless parent, I put it very simply. I mean, learning from my children. One thing I think very key, and I'll just add 2 points to it, not to be judgmental. Yeah, children understand absolutely, and they call it judgy. Don't be judgy. And let me tell you, they just get it. If you just sort of compare kids, or and that's when the biggest challenge emerges. They just shut down because they think, as a parent, as an adult, we are constantly judging them and evaluating them in everything that they do or choose to do. So I think that's the first little thing, and it's very difficult because we don't know when we are doing it. We are so good. We are experts at judging, and we are doing it all the time. That's the first thing I would say, and it's really difficult. And just how do we stop being judgy? I think that's the first thing. The other thing I would do is, if we don't share, how do you expect the child to share? So it's very interesting because I used to always feel my day in office, how would it be interesting to my child? Like, I've been into meetings and there was this fight I had, and I was trying to, get some, negotiate something, think about a creative, or maybe there was some problem. It's okay. We can share this with kids. Maybe they don't understand the 100% of it. Maybe they'll understand only 20-30% of it. But when we start sharing, we'll also get it in as it will be reciprocated. So I think these are the two things that, I'd love to add to what Shelja said.
Yes.
One is, don't be judgy. And second, let's also share. Otherwise, you can't expect sharing.
Yes,
Yeah,
I would totally
always
agree.
take cues, right?
Yeah, so another thing I do, which I find very useful with mine are 18 and 22, but over the years I found really helpful, is kind of just knock on their room, because they like to be in their room. So just be there and say, I'm just going to sit in the corner. I'm reading my book, or I'm on my laptop. I'm not going to trouble you. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm just being here. Invariably, you start doing something, after some time they'll start a conversation. As long as you're not prying into their life, you kind of just having your tea and you're reading your book, and soon you start a conversation when you feel like Sonali saying that you are not being judgmental or you're not being intrusive, and they sense that space is safe enough, they will start sharing.
That's lovely.
And in fact, one more thing I've started with my kids is, like, at least my eldest son, I tell him, you give me the news of the day. I mean, I'm not looking at any of the news. You tell me what's important. Available. So you can have some sort of like some neutral topics.
Right.
So it could be, the cyclone, or it could be anything. And kids are very smart. They're really good at, and you'll see, they'll also talk about news that's relevant to them. It could be technology. It could be the latest phone. It could be things that, a new game that's coming on Xbox. I don't know. It could be anything that's of interest. But it's neutral. It's neutral.
Yeah, and it's a good way to get them to read the newspaper as well. That's a beautiful habit to
But
inculcate.
they do it on the phone now, so
Yeah, true.
And you end up giving the most peculiar news, which you never thought was important, but important.
Yeah. So I have a question from another concerned mom who says her child is 7-year-old, is always irritated She doesn't seem to enjoy anything else except for TV shows these days. She doesn't want to do online calls with friends and family. She feels she's constantly being nagged, even when we go for days without really telling her anything. I've tried talking, sharing, emotion wheel, structured routine, no routine, but nothing seems to work. I really don't know how to connect with her. Her mood is always frustrated and irritated. We've told her what's happening in basic terms and haven't been talking about corona at home, as that seems to make it worse. We are calmer with her, also avoid scolding her, but comfort her, and don't indulge the behavior, but be with her. Yeah. So
Right. Yeah. So it's very difficult to comment because each child is different and we don't know what's really happening in the emotional world of the child. Uh, but I'm just thinking there's one exercise that sometime when I do with children that's really, really helpful is um, that suppose, I'm kind of assuming mom's tried everything in terms of her. First, I always say, check the emotional connect with your child. What's your connect with your child in terms of, are you making enough emotional deposits there? Are there a lot of fun times, the hugging, the kissing, where that one to one, the playful times I'm talking about? Is there enough of that? Is there enough of compassion and kindness, and that space is there? I'm assuming that's already there. Then I would suggest that you sit with your child and you make a draw a bag, a draw a bag, a kind of a knapsack with lots of pockets, right? And you could make a bag for mama, and you could make a bag for your 6-year-old, a 6-year-old, right? six
yes,
year old like a knapsack kind of a thing, and with different pockets. And then you say, okay, you know what we'll play a game. We'll call this bag of worries. All the thing that you might, the worries that trouble us, you could have a little chat on worries. We'll keep putting the names on the different pockets. So mama could say, one worry that I have is because I have to do all the housework, all that cooking that I have to do, whatever's age appropriate for the child. You keep writing it down. Sometimes I worry about in my sleep I can't get good sleep, so I get bad dreams. You write that down, and then you encourage the child to, and don't start analyzing those worries. Tell the child to put the worries down. You ask the child, and with color pencils, whatever, you write down the worries. So what will happen is, this becomes a way, because sometimes a 6-year-old doesn't even know what's troubling. So you kind of put it all down in different pockets. So then all the pockets are there and all the worries are there. Then you go through each one by one. You say, okay, so this worry. Suppose the child might have a worry. Sometimes children have, like this particular game I did with another 6-year-old, who again was, the crankiness and the irritation was there. This child said, my grandparents are going to die because of COVID. So that he had not even shared with anybody in the family, because he was so scared to share. So then we sat down, we discussed about it, how the grandparents are safe, they're taking care of themselves, and how we could, remove that pocket. Slowly we started removing some pockets, or saying, okay, these are pockets that mama and papa can take care of. So making the bag lighter and lighter. So the different, we have to be very creative when we are with children to really understand what they're going through.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is one question on online studies. So when this online studies, it kind of stresses them out. They get bored. How do we handle them? And how do we keep them motivated when they have to sit for hours together online for the school
Hmm.
academics?
Hmm. One thing, I think I would like to maintain a balance here. And I think this, sometimes parents can't control everything, but there's certain times if, children are really, really struggling, and sometimes according to the age of the child is really struggling with sitting in for every class, then the parents can sit and talk to the teachers and, work out a way that they can drop certain classes. Because I think right now we have to understanding we are surviving a pandemic, and this tug of war that happens for classes and all, the focus needs to be right now on the well-being of the child, on our relationship. I tell parents, whenever in doubt, choose your relationship with the child. If the child is able to miss 1 or 2 classes, it's okay. Make sure the child is getting, the sleep is okay, the meals are fairly nutritious, the child is getting enough breaks, you're having enough fun times, and you drop certain classes is not going to change much. So I'm one person who says drop the classes, focus on the child's well-being right now.
I think this is a very interesting question. Is that yes? I mean, we have encouraged that parents have to play. They have to find that time to be silly and play. But there will be times when the kid wants to play and we're not available. We're busy with something else. How do we best communicate this, and how do we make up for it?
So I think this can be something, and if right at the beginning there's a clarity, like I said, the 10 finger exercise you do, these are things that the child wants to do, and this is a thing mama wants the child to do. Then you could also have an exercise on, mama and papa both are busy, so this time to this time, and if they can work in shifts, if parents can work in shifts, this time mama is not available, this time papa is not available because we have to work. So if those things are put somewhere the child can see, the timetable is put there, in this time when mama is not available or papa is not available, what can you do instead? So there are various options. There's a space where there's a art and craft corner, the books are kept there, or the toys are there. There's a costume box, the child can take out stuff, and there are various things for the child to do and
Right.
have fun. But one that there's a clarity there, children are able to understand, as
Great.
long as parents are getting enough one-to-one times also.
So now I'll move to the last question.
Yeah.
Most of the questions I've just summed up and asked you. The last question is, I see my 8-year-old not interested in playing sometimes. She wants to watch TV all the time. Disrespect seems to have gone up too. Uh, in fact, what I wanted to ask you also was about how, in fact, there was another question as well, where the mom talks about, now that's a 14-year-old kid. The mom is mentioning how the kid always is hooked on to their gadgets and online gaming. So they almost go, binging, basically binging on either TV or gaming. How do we do understand that, we have taken away a lot from them, but at the same time, this is destructive behavior, and you're seeing it. So how do we strike that balance?
I would say again, I'll go back to, there's no simple solution. This is a struggle and battleground in every home across the world. So the parents have to understand this is happening everywhere. But what they can do is a simple thing, like I say, you, me, we, is first understanding the child, with the child, depending on the age of the child. Okay, so tell me what episodes you want to watch of this particular show, or which game you want to play. So you understand, you write it all down. You have a whiteboard, you put it all down. Make a column of what the child wants. Then it's about me. As a parent, it's my responsibility to see that you watch programs which are, first of all, age appropriate, or which are a particular time of the day. So this is my perspective, your perspective, and then let's reach a negotiation together. Now, there's no kind of a magical solution here, but there has to be some kind of a communication there. And as long as there is some clarity which is put up there, okay, these are the programs you can watch through the day at this time, from this time to this time, and it's made it very clear. When the time comes, you go to the child and say, remember what an understanding we had, that at this time you will stop it. And the child might get upset, start crying, and empathize with the child. Empathize with the child, it's still tough. It is not easy to switch off the show when I ask you to. It's tough. Let's see what we can do together. Don't take it personally. Don't react by getting angry. Be compassionate with the child, but hold your. But having said that, I would also like to emphasize something. If the parents sometimes are spending a lot of time on the screen, watching Netflix or whatever, and they're telling the child you can only watch 1 or 2 shows, then there's a hypocrisy here. So you have to walk the talk. If
Right.
you are doing that, then you have to make sure the child will understand. If you're not doing it, then child is not going to do it.
I completely agree with that one, Shelja, and thanks for raising it. If you hadn't, I would have brought it out as well. But, just on this technology thing, and, even as Sesame, sometimes we question, and especially for younger ones, how much of technology. But I just want to, and this is even pre-COVID, very rightly, Shelja,
Yeah.
it's pre-COVID. But now, I think somewhere, one thing I would like to say, and as we close, many a times, and I've done this myself, in my time, we never did it like this. Yeah. In my time, we were reading books and we were doing all of this. And that my time is not something that this generation anyway relates to. Yeah. And they don't understand my time. It's like a joke. I took my children to Connaught Place on a nostalgia trip, and they just couldn't understand it. Like, why have you brought us here? There are only carpets and some cashew nuts available. I just don't understand it. And I was like, look at this colonnades and look at this. So that my time doesn't exist for them. Yeah, it's their world is very different. And that's the reality. And their world is one of technology, screens, very quick gratification, immediately being connected with each other. We used to wait for the next day to meet our friends, right? We didn't have that connectivity. Here they're constantly connected with their friends. So I think that world is different, and to recognize that and work our way through that world, because sometimes and I struggle with it myself, I had to let go of my world first before I could enter their reality. And it's a very different reality. And I would bring back this concept of empathy, because it's not that we can dictate terms. And I agree with Shelja, we can create those timetables, we can create those rules, but everything goes out of the window very fast if we don't really understand the reality. Because at the end of the day, it's not about timetables, it's not about this is your time, my time, and it's their world is different. So I think recognizing that and understanding that is key to navigating this technology. And the last point, to another question, Neela, you said when kids are in depression or they're feeling very anxious, is also to live with it. It's okay to be with it, because we're always very quick to want a solution and move on. Someone really told me, live with it for some time. It's okay, be with that grief, be with that for a while, because we are never honest to the problem. We want to quickly sort of, if the child has identified anxiety, we want to solve it. We want to come out of this like within like 30 seconds. And I think just to be present is really most critical. And these are hard lessons learned. I'm not a child psychologist. I mean, that's not who I am. I'm basically a communications expert. That's what Neela sort of identified. And one learns communication through life all along. Life is its biggest teacher. And I would really like to come back and say this, that, we really need to be present, and that will be appreciated more than anything else. We can live with that for some time. We can't say that, oh, my child is anxious, so the remedy is the child will be fun and playing and all of that. It's okay to live with the child's anxiety for a bit. Take a deep breath and walk the child through that path.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, Shunali, I would totally agree with you. I think sometimes as parents, we want quick fixes. Fix my child, fix my child. But there's nothing like that. Sometimes children are going through, we are going through it. Sometimes the child is just reflecting what we all are going through. We have to be there for the child. And, this thing of, like this family I was working with, and the parents sleep at 11 o'clock, get up at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and they expect the children to do that. But children are not going to. They like Shunali said, their way of living and being is different from them, and we have to respect that. And the important thing here, as a parent myself, and to all the parents, I would like to say one thing, that the memories of this pandemic will stay in our children's memory banks forever. And it's very important for us to remember this. What deposits are we making? That, small things like homework, Zoom class, he hasn't taken a bath today, these are non-issues. These are non-issues. This is something what we are facing is we've never faced ever, and they're going to stay with us forever, even in our children's memory banks forever. So we have to be mindful of that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this fabulous session. Beautiful tips. I think what came out of this 1 hour conversation it's totally invaluable. So I request all parents who've logged in later, to just go back and watch the entire video. It's full of beautiful tips. I think for me personally, I have taken a lot of tips. One is to be more empathetic. Number two is I've always only been thinking about creating a safe space or creating that, nurturing space. But today I realized I have to create that fun space for my child. I don't have to be in it all the time, but it is great. That will be a great place for me to connect with him. So to be part of that fun space as well. So I will make that effort to be part of that fun space as well. Thank you so much for the lovely things. And of course, I see you. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's one of my favorite dialogues from Avatar as well. But you just explained it so beautifully and how it is extremely relevant in this context. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sonali, for bringing Sesame Street here with us and for Googly with us. He's one of the most adorable guests that we've had so far.
Yeah.
Thank you, Neela. Thank you so much for hosting us so kindly and graciously. Thank you, Shelja. Really a pleasure to hear you speak. A lot of comfort. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonali. I think we, all three of us, kind of connected so easily, and Googly, of course. And really, what a pleasure to be with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.